What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So let's hop right into it. This is going to be the best rogue guide for season 1. So let's start off by going over what are the differences between season 0 and season 1. So the gameplay that you guys are seeing is with all of the brand new updates that we just got yesterday. So starting right off, Siphoning Strikes got a massive nerf. It requires luck, hit chance. Basically, this passive is almost worthless. On top of that, they actually gave us some nice little buffs with Rogue, surprisingly. Aftermath actually got a buff, which I was really surprised by, so that means when we activate our ultimate, more resource. On top of that, the Paragon actually got changed with the combat glyphs. Doesn't really matter too much, but it's the Eldritch Bounty node actually got increased from 6 to 9 seconds. And then on top of that, the specialization, the Preparation's ultimate cooldown got increased from 4 to 5, which is a buff, which means we get more cooldown reduction. Even though we got a cooldown nerf across the board, a lot of damage nerfs, the Rogue is still pretty good. I mean, you're seeing me fight level 100 monsters because as of right now, you're not going to want to go past your level in terms of trying to get XP, because obviously this video is going to be like kind of a beginner's guide to it. And on top of that, in terms of doing like monster levels that are higher, you usually be getting 15%, then it would be 20 and 25% when the monsters were 3 levels higher, 25% bonus. Now, if you go to 10 levels, which used to be just 1 level higher than you, you would get 15% bonus at 10 levels, which is ridiculous. Pretty much for the most part, in terms of leveling, you don't really want to go too much higher than your level in terms of when you are just playing the game. Unless you're trying to just push Sigil 100, then by all means, then that's something different. So with Eldritch Bounty, this is going to be massive for the brand new Malignant Hearts. Now, we don't have Malignant Hearts in the gameplay because I wanted to provide you guys with a build guide, so you guys will have it ready when, of course, the season starts tomorrow. So Eldritch Bounty is actually pretty insane, and this will be something that you may want to consider. I'm not sure if this is going to get nerfed. If they nerf it literally the day of, I'm going to be pretty disappointed because I kind of planned around this. So it gives you extra damage when you attack with an imbued skill. Now, what's really crazy is there's these malignant powers that you're going to be socketing in. Now, the one that is really insane is the Vile Apothecary. So what does this do? Your attacks have a 5 to 15% chance to apply all of your imbuements. So what that means is you would get all of the resistances, and if that starts stacking, it can get absolutely crazy. I'm just hoping this doesn't get nerfed by the time, you know, we can actually get our hands on this thing, because it's going to be quite crazy, especially to get all of the 3 elements, to get all of the resistances and all of the bonus damage. Going to be really, really nice. Now on top of that, the other hearts that I have my eyes on are the Dark Dance. This makes it so while we are above a set amount of HP, we have our skills costing life instead of our resource. And then on top of that, skills that consume life deal increased damage. So as long as we're able to heal up, and even though we got a nerf in one department for survivability with the Siphoning passive, we actually can get a lot more survivability by going a different route, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a moment here. And then on top of that, there is, of course, Vile Apothecary. This is really good. And then I was thinking Lionheart has some potential if you wanted to incorporate barrier somehow in your build. This could be with temerity. You can also consider running the one where you evade and you grant yourself barrier. The reason why is because you get to heal. Obviously it says 3-7, but that's like a low number. Hopefully it will go way, way higher. So starting right off in terms of the build, because this is a build guide, but I had to go over what are the newer changes first, right? So starting right off in terms of what you want to do for your season. So what you want to do, because we're playing Rogue, this is a Twisting Blades build guide. The way you get your Twisting Blades is to go to Jalal's Vigil. You do this dungeon and you'll get the Blade Dancer's aspect. That's how you get the spinning Twisting Blades. Now, other than that, you don't really need anything in particular that is so required for the build. It's kind of just like, if you get some of these, it will be nice, but I'll link a video also that goes over some of the best aspect. If you can get Disobedience or any of these other defensive ones, it will be nice to have, and I'll go over them in a moment here. So starting right off, I want to go over the 1 through 26, and the reason why 26 instead of 25 is because that's when you get your key passive over here. So it's going to start off as a Twisting Blades Rogue with traps, because it's just simply one of the best builds in the entire game. In fact, I can confidently say that the Rogue is probably one of the best classes going into Season 1 for the start. Now later in terms of min-maxing, we're going to have to wait and see what people come up with, what some of these newer powers can open up the doors with, and if people figure out crazy exploits or bugs or, you know, just things that just work really, really well. So starting right off, here is the tree. So the only thing that's really important in the very beginning is make sure that you're getting puncture. It's just, you get puncture and then you get the puncture that throws multiple, you get to slow and you get to apply vulnerability, and then pretty much you just go into twisting blades, and then if you want to get some damage reduction here, remember, sniping strikes, no good anymore. That just got completely destroyed. If you want to, optional, you can get dash, you can get shadow step to break CC. However, I really like concealment. The reason why is because it gives you a bunch of resource. That gives you just 40 energy by activating, and it breaks CC, and it just recently got a buff for the duration. Also gives you unstoppable and more movement speed. It just does so much. And on top of that, if you really want to, you can guarantee the crit or apply vulnerability with it until you get maybe exploit on the glyphs. But in the very beginning, traps are just going to be superior just because they apply so much damage and they don't have a resource cost versus some of the other skills. Well, they're going to cost resource, right? And then we're going to go actually use Shadow Imbuement, or if you want to, you can run Poison. Poison or Shadow, you can run both if you want to. If you really want to drop, let's say, maybe Poison Trap for a little bit up until when you start getting your ultimate, because once you get your ultimate, you want to pop your ultimate literally just for the resource. You can just activate it just for the resource. It's totally fine. And then you just apply Poison Trap, then with your key passive, you get to get this off of cooldown a little bit faster. The reason why I like Shadow earlier on for leveling is just simply because you have that ability to generate a lot of resource. So Shadow is great earlier on, and then you can go Poison, or you can just run both. It's kind of up to you on which one you want to run. But you definitely want to run Death Trap because it will be able to have the shortest cooldown, and you want that brand new bonus of Aftermath because this just got buffed, so we're getting extra resource when we pop our ultimate, and then we're also going to go for haste. Again, I'll link this all down below in the pinned comment so you guys will have everything, but then yeah, you definitely want to get a little bit more movement speed when you can, and then the key passive is exposure. So this is the 1 through 26. This is of course counting that you've already done your Lilith statues and you've gotten some of your renown done from the previous season going into this season. So as far as our skills go, I really liked having concealment, Shadow Imbue, Death Trap, Poison Trap, Puncture, and Twisting Blades. Basically, the rotation is if you need energy, activate Puncture. But just activate this if you see an elite so you can apply the vulnerability earlier on. Later, you don't have to worry about it because you'll get a glyph called Exploit that just applies vulnerability to every single thing that you hit. But yeah, pretty much Twisting Blades is going to be your main source of damage. So you want to run a crossbow here, and you want to run Twisting Blades on it. So some of the things did get nerfed. You see I've only got 3 stats on it. So ideally, you want vulnerable damage, core skill damage, and then for the last stat, it doesn't really matter too much earlier on because crit, you're not going to have that much crit chance in the very beginning of the game, so getting crit multi isn't going to be as powerful because, well, you just simply don't have that amount of crit chance. So the last one, you can get damage to maybe poison enemies, maybe damage to close enemies, or enemies affected by some sort of like slow or something. It doesn't really matter too much, and that's why I'm kind of showing this off. If you can get the other bonus though, close enemies is totally fine, but the only real important thing is just getting that aspect, which I showed you guys, Jalal's Vigil. It's an Act 2, but yeah, just get that and you'll be a-okay. As far as the other aspects, it doesn't really matter too much. You can get increased potency if you want to. There is another one where you deal more damage when you stand still. I like this for bosses because there are some bosses that kind of take a second or they go away, and all you do is you basically stand still, let them come to you, and then you'll have a massive amount of damage, and then you can basically delete them, especially with poison. Again, if you want to run poison or shadow imbue, it doesn't really matter. Heck, you can run both of them and drop one of the skills if you would like, but I really do like concealment after that, the most recent buff. As far as the rings go, there isn't really anything in particular that you need that's important. By the way, on the very beginning, you want daggers. Daggers are superior to swords in the leveling process, but later you're going to want to change those to swords. But as far as the rings go, earlier on, you get close damage, resource generation, vulnerable damage. Getting some life can be good. Ideally, Umbral is fantastic, just applying any sort of slow, just, you know, with the puncture, obviously applies a slow. You just get some sort of flat resource, which is nice. And then you get the Ravenous. Ravenous is excellent because, well, it just simply gives you a bunch of more resource. And that's after you kill a vulnerable enemy, which should be easy to apply. And then as far as the amulet goes, if you can get cooldown reduction, movement speed, energy cost reduction, damage reduction from close enemies, this is kind of what you're looking for. You can get trap cooldown reduction as well. All of those are great stats at the end of the day, but getting all of these is going to be like impossible. The only important thing is get your aspect of disobedience, throw it on your amulet in the very earlier stages. And then for our boots over here, in terms of gear, I put Lucky Hit. Dealing a direct damage to a vulnerable enemy can apply Daze, and that can be kind of nice. Later, we're going to get something where we're going to be able to actually knock down the enemy, and then we're going to get increased crit chance, but this is like way later on. This is going to be further down the line because, you know, of course, you're not going to have that much crit in the very beginning anyways, or crit multi. And then we want the pants to ideally have like basic skills grant some sort of damage reduction because, well, everything got nerfed in terms of our survivability. So this is an excellent one. Ideally, just getting life and dexterity are great earlier on. You get imbuement cooldown reduction as well, so that's kind of another option. And then in terms of the gloves, you want crit, strike, chance, you want attack speed, and then more importantly, the rank 2 twisting blades. And then if you get trap cooldown reduction, that's great. You can also get this on your amulet for cooldown reduction. And then just getting like edge masters can be okay in the very beginning. There's not anything that's super important to get. Again, that's why rogue is so powerful. Twisting blade's literally the only thing that you need. And then again, you can get close instead of the last one. I didn't put one there because I wanted to mention it's not super important to get all 4 stats perfect again while you are leveling. And then for our chest piece over here, as much life as possible. And then I like getting the barrier earlier on. It's just quite nice to have that. Just instantly you just go into a room, and then if there's an elite, you basically just don't take any damage. And then on top of that, this is pretty nice to have as well. It is the aspect that gives us a heal per second per close enemy. Earlier on, this is great. Later on, it kind of dies off in terms of how good it is because numerically the stats amount isn't that high, but it can still be okay because there really isn't any way to just kind of regen HP for the rogue, especially with the most recent change. Again, Siphoning Strikes is basically what we had, and that got nerfed. I like personally to run rubies. You can run topazes if you prefer to run topazes. That's totally fine. And then you run your emeralds in your weapon. And then in our rings, we want to run the hearts. The hearts don't exist in the game right now, so I can't put it on the planner, but again, armor is great earlier on, so skulls earlier on, but later in the game, you will definitely want to swap this and change this to the Malignant hearts, because the Malignant hearts are going to be way better. And it depends on what socket colors you roll. And we'll get into that maybe towards the next video, because this is for the earlier stages of the game. So in terms of Paragon, obviously this is going to be like this is 1 through 26, so there's no Paragon. Now I'm gonna at least give you guys like the build to 50. So eventually you want to swap your daggers into swords once you have enough crit. And what I actually prefer to run is I like to run both poison and shadow. So shadow is great for cleaning up trash and getting you resource. Poison is great for bosses, and I like to run both of them. You can see sometimes I like to just mix it up for gameplay. Heck, I was even trying out the new Caltrops, which they get a 15% attack speed animation increase, but it's still relatively mid. Now, preparation is really good. Earlier on, though, I still think Inner Sight is going to be overall much better, again, specifically for like some of these bosses. But if you can, yeah, this is great, because 1 through 26, well, in the middle of the process, you're not going to have an ultimate, so having this does nothing. If you have Inner Sight, then it actually does do something. So later, you can swap to preparation. It just depends on your cooldowns, what you're seeing in terms of like, what your pieces of gear roll. So keep that in mind as well. But there isn't anything other than this that you really need to get in order for your build to feel really good. And you can basically zoom through. Now, I do have like a level 100 one, and I'll go over that in a future video. And the reason why I want to do that in the future video is because there's a lot of theory crafting and untested stuff that exists right now in the game. Another thing that I wanted to provide for you guys is the map of all of the quests that lead to dungeons. So someone on Reddit made this really good guide, and it tells you every single one of your quests that you want to do. I always get asked, Slater, what is the best way to actually level for their brand new season? Well, here's my notes for this. So what you want to do is farm renown. So that's where you're just basically completing the map and you're getting all of your things done. That is like getting the Lilith statues. But if you've already gotten those, don't worry about that because you don't have to collect those again. But you still will obviously need to get your renown. That's going to be for the +4 Paragon points for every single region. So as far as that goes, what you want to do in terms of getting your XP, the grind, what you want to do to be as fast as possible, you want to do dungeons and side quests. Strongholds used to be the best thing, but again, with that most recent update where we get basically a huge penalty to XP. So that's important that I show you guys this right here. Don't do strongholds anymore. A lot of YouTubers made video guides, and I was kind of waiting for the patch to come out because, well, all of their efforts to farm all the strongholds, find which one gives you the most XP per hour. I feel so bad for the content creators there that did that because, well, that was a lot of time and it's basically wasted now because you only get, if you're doing it, 3 levels higher, well, you're getting like memes in terms of the bonus XP, and it's way harder. It's not worth it anymore. But nonetheless, what you want to do is just go farm your renown. That's the side quest. You can do your grim favors. That's actually going to be pretty good because you get to, open up something at the very end. And on top of that, you get some sort of bonus XP. And on top of that, the non-nightmare dungeons aren't really that great. But if you have a good group, I'm talking about like S tier, you have people in Discord, you guys are super, super fast. If you want to farm the same exact dungeon like 1,000 times, by all means, that is technically an option. But most people won't want to do that. But once you get into the nightmare dungeons at like World Tier 3, you want to do that as fast as possible. They actually changed the world cap. You actually have to do I think it's at level 40 now. It's like, I think it's 40 and 60 is like the requirements. You used to be able to do it like whatever level, but they actually changed it so you have like some sort of like level requirement. I think it might be in one of these patches over here in terms of the capstone. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it real quick. But basically, yeah, you can't just do the capstone in like whenever you want. There is a level requirement. I don't know if it's in this notes, but it's in somewhere. Nonetheless, yeah, there is massive nerfs overall to the game, and this build can still clear things really, really fast. So don't worry too much about the nerfs. I know a lot of people are like, dude, can your build do it? I mean, you're seeing it right now in the gameplay without the Malignant Hearts. Once we have the Malignant Hearts, it's going to be insane. Vile Apothecary is just going to be bonkers level of crazy, and if this starts stacking with Eldritch, oh man, it hopefully will not get on the radar for the nerfs, but who knows? Everything's getting nerfed. Maybe it'll get nerfed. But even if that gets nerfed, guys, I'm playing without the Malignant Hearts, and it's still very, very solid. So I confidently could say this build is going to destroy the season. Now, in terms of like doing Sigil 100s, at the moment, like Bulwark Druid is like kind of your go-to. But in terms of speed, the Rogue is going to have the highest advantage at the very beginning. But there it is, guys. You guys asked for it, and this is going to be the best rogue guide for Twisting Blades. Well, pretty much the best rogue guide. We'll always play Twisting Blades. This is not up for debate. But running the traps as well as double imbuement, it is so much better. If you want to, you can run Dark Shroud. You can run like any other ability for mobility if you want to drop Concealment. But with the most recent buffs, Concealment is just a fantastic skill. And on top of that, with Preparation getting a bonus, that means I can pop my ulti, gain 90 energy, and then also pop Concealment 2 times, because I pop it once, then I can pop my Death Trap, which will then give me 90 energy. Then I can pop my Concealment again, which you guys are probably seeing in the gameplay, and get another 40 energy. So I get 80 energy because I'm activating this twice. The reason why is this resets all my regular skills cooldowns, which is like all my imbuements and everything. It's wild how good this is, and I'm surprised that they actually buffed Preparation and they buffed the extra resource. Mind-boggling, all right? But nonetheless, there is also another change I want to mention briefly before I end off the video, is there is the, I think it's called Starlight. So you get to gain HP whenever we have our primary resource heal us. So what I wanted to do was actually, I'm going to do some more testing, and this is why I'm like, okay, well, I'll make a dedicated video for like the 50 plus, and the reason why is because I'm still running the things that give us extra heals, and I wanted to run this thing for momentum that gave me extra heals per second. So this gives us 600, and then this is up to 300 additional life. And then we having basically, not even counting the Lionheart, which is another thing over here, which I'm sure gives you more than 3 to 7. This is a low level one. This is like what we have in terms of numbers right now. But I'm sure that this will go way, way, way up, right? So our goal is actually to use this and actually try not to get actual damage reduction, but get as much HP as possible. And every time we are gaining 25% of our life, we are actually gaining way more resource. Way more resource means that we can have perma unstoppable with Shadow Clone. That's the end game goal with this. Try, like elements, or I guess, you don't know if Shadow is considered an element. I guess we have Poison Shadow, it's a triple imbuement rogue. That's the end game goal for it. So at least I give you guys some sort of theory crafting and kind of the end game idea. And I'll be changing up the Paragon board, so if it doesn't look exactly like this, it's because, well, I found out something better. But yeah, this is just basically going to be like the 1 through 50 guide, but at least I give you guys a little teaser for the next part. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up. Enjoy Season 1, guys, and let me know if there are any improvements to this build, because we are always making the build as best as possible. And so if we need to make some adjustments, you guys let me know. If there's any crazy new things that people figure out that like break the game with some of these brand new Malignant Hearts. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss out when we actually cover like the level 100 part of the guide, because I want to be able to give you guys the best info, and that's going to require us to actually play. Anyways, catch you in the next video. Have a good one, and I'm out. Peace.